Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm Tess Brigham. I'm the therapist.
And I'm Brooke Brigham. I'm the attorney.
All right. Hello, everybody. This is a very exciting day here in the world of Psych Legal Pop. We are joined by reality gays. This is Maddie and Jake, also known as Poodle. And I cannot tell you how many times my husband's like, what, Poodle? Who are you talking about, Poodle? What Poodle? We are so excited to have you here. Today, we're going to talk about the secret lives of Mormon wives, the entire series, though we're going to focus on episodes 1 and 2. We might talk a little sister wives, but we want to start by talking about how much we love you and how exciting this is for us. Because
it's so sweet. Yeah.
You both have great hair, beautiful hair.
Thank
and that's
you.
all that matters in the end.
Yes.
It's true.
We went
It's
to your
hereditary. Yeah.
Yes. We don't do much for it. So we went to your live show last year in San Francisco. That was here. It was great. We are so old that we left before we could meet you because it was
I don't
like
blame
10.
you. I don't blame you.
There was a big line.
And it was like 10. We were tired.
It was, I'm never out this late. I was getting nervous. It was like, I need to get back home.
Well, and also our San Francisco
Driving
show.
at night. Yeah.
Yes,
That show is
exactly.
usually later on in the tour. And Poodle and I are already jazzed up from just all the dick around us in San Francisco. And so the show goes long, Poodle slosh, and so I don't blame you.
By the end of the San Francisco shows, for some reason it's always late in the tour because we kind of start off on the East Coast and we kind of work our way back across towards Los Angeles. And it's almost always San Francisco or San Diego are the last tour dates, maybe Los Angeles. And it's near the end. Also, for some reason, the San Francisco audiences are really excited to talk to us.
They are fucking nuts. Sorry, we allowed to cuss. I'm sorry.
Yes.
It takes a long time to kind of get through the line. So yeah, it's but thank you guys so much for coming. We always have a great time in San Francisco and the audiences are great there.
We met a single sissy who was sitting next to us, and
I love
so we made a friend. And it turns out that she lived like a block away from our mother's house.
Totally.
Wow.
It's a very small world.
It is a small world
for people who like garbage television.
That's totally true.
But it did introduce me to inmate to roommate.
Oh,
I don't know if I'm proud or I feel bad for that.
Okay,
show.
I love that show.
That show is one of the darkest things I've ever seen.
It's very dark.
And I think about it all the time. I still don't think there's a dark, unless you're watching The Valley on Bravo, which I think may be the darkest reality television show I've ever seen.
I watch it. Brooke doesn't. You don't watch it, Brooke, because Brooke never watched. You never watch Vanderpump Rules.
Yeah, I'm out of touch with that world.
Yeah, but The Valley is very very dark.
It is so dark, and what they are doing, and like what we're seeing, the inside of these people's marriages, and no one really. These are actual groups of friends, and we're watching a group of friends like wither away.
Oh, that's
really dark.
I'm actually pretty good friends with someone on it. I worked with Jason of Jason and Janet. He was I worked at a law office for like 18 years.
Janet's not having a good season.
Yeah.
No, Janet, I love Janet. We're friends. She's crazy. I've told her this. But yeah, Jason, it's really funny because I worked at this law and Jason was just like, he was the pretty guy and everybody thought like he was the kind of least smart attorney there at the law firm. But what I love is that on The Valley, he's like the smartest person in the room always.
See, it's all relative.
He's kind of the best person on the show.
He's a sweetheart. I like him a lot. I don't know what he's portrayed as on the show.
Him and the gay
but
guy. I always forget his name.
He would always let me play with him.
Yes,
Zach,
I forgot.
Zach.
Yeah. Yes.
Him and the gay guy are the best people in the show. Everyone else is just a pile of garbage, especially the men.
Well, I'm very sorry to go on this tangent. And sorry, Brooke, but I'm curious about the two of you. I'm curious what the two of you think, because I'm having a real problem with Brittany at this point, because I am empathetic to everything that she's been through, but there is a big part of me that feels like I get that you loved him, but you knew all of this. Like this should not be a surprise to you, or did she really think he would never go this dark or this bad? I don't know.
You had to find the dime bags of Coke just laying on the floor of your house.
Yeah.
And after a while, the thing about it is, after a while, you have to co-sign. You have to co-sign the behavior. And also, we're both, Matt and I are Southern. We had Southern accents. But good God, it sounds like they just dropped you out of Kentucky yesterday. I have such a problem with that. I mean, you've been here long enough. Can we take a little bit the sweet tea and the hayseed out?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I never thought about that.
She just, and also here's one of the reasons I was teaching at a university level, and so a lot of my accent. I'm from South Carolina, rural South Carolina. And you can hear it sometime in the mountains. Yeah, mountain people. And it should be accompanied. My whole childhood was accompanied by spittoons. Just like, and I know how I spoke. But after a while, you kind of learn that if you sound like that, everyone thinks you're a complete moron. And I don't think she is. But she kind of falls back on that persona, so she doesn't have to participate in her entire life. And
interesting.
And I just find her such an kind of an. I find her she's unmotivated to participate in changes. And most people gave up on her a long time ago.
Really?
So
okay.
I feel like, but the show is still trying to redeem her in some way. I'm just like, girl, you know what you need to do.
Yeah.
You know.
I just have a hard time with some of these. Just, she knowingly knew this guy was on a reality show. She came out. I mean, she's consciously made all of these choices herself. And it's interesting. I never thought about the accent. I've never thought about the accent before, but you're absolutely right, where it seems like it's almost like she's, I don't have to take accountability. I'm going to lean into, I'm just little old me. I'm from Kentucky. What do I know? Who am I?
It is that persona that you can, and also you don't have to claim any responsibility after that.
I'm just a caveman lawyer.
Exactly. It is. It's a side of that. And she refuses to participate in trying to better her situation. Yeah. She refuses because it's easier.
No, I absolutely agree.
So,
Yeah.
So sorry, let's go back to gushing about
Let's
you.
go back.
Yeah.
Yes.
More about us, please.
More about, yes. So we were trying to figure out like when we started listening to you, and I believe Ben and Ronnie mentioned your show, and we started watching their show like I think episode 4.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
like
Y'all
we
are
were big,
way back.
You were
Way
here.
back.
Early
Geraldine's to the
Crappens
core.
adopters.
I didn't know what a podcast was. It was the first podcast I ever downloaded.
It's like
I was subscribed
it was
to.
like the Serial days when Serial was on.
Yes, it's back in the Stone Age. But so I checked out, your podcast and was like, oh my gosh, this is wild. And I'm telling Tess about it. And I'm like, it's like they're talking about 90 Day Fiance, and they'll be talking about what's happening. And all of a sudden they're talking about sucking a dick.
Yeah. That's
With a song.
Yes, with a song.
With a song. Yeah.
That's a really good way to book report it.
That is one of the great
That's exactly what
best
we
summaries
do.
I've ever heard. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I was all for it. I was like, great.
Yeah. It's not highbrow. It is the kind of combination of sometimes we'll talk about things and sometimes it'll remind me of some like French book that I've read and I'm talking about that and then we segue into a dick joke right after that. So I love that about our show, that it can be kind of entertaining and educational, but also just really kind of dirty and raunchy.
Yeah. It's just fun. It's a real outlet. Like you don't realize it until, we don't always have to be so serious. And
no,
we're talking about these dumb shows and it's like, we have to have some, some levity. But then the other marker, and maybe you can tell us when you started, but we remembered when you were stuck in China.
That was we started the show. That's your real ones. If you remember when we were in China, you're a real
that
one. We started the podcast officially, I believe, in 2019.
We started the podcast. We started
River Males.
Yeah, because I was doing my own podcast like 10 years ago.
You were doing
I've been doing this for like 10, 11 years. And then we started about, I would say probably 7 years ago. We did about 2 years worth of podcast where we
2017, 2018.
We really listened to us, and we were doing Riverdale and
we were doing
Sabrina.
scripted TV. And it was fun because these are shows that we watched and we were thinking,
we did Feud.
This will kind of pop off in the pop culture world. And scripted TV wasn't a good fit for us.
I feel like there's more podcasts about scripted now, but at the time
there is.
It wasn't. It wasn't and those usually are highly produced, and we were definitely not highly produced.
No, we were not.
But we started.
No, we were not.
Yeah, we did Southern Charm on TV Tea Time. That was kind of and it started to do well. But then we had our Facebook moderator and friend Jackie was like, y'all need to do 90 Day Fiance. So we technically started 90 Day Fiance on August 22nd, 2019.
When we were 90 Day Gays.
Yes, I remember that. And then you got the letter from TLC.
Then Poodle went to China in December and brought back COVID because he was
spread it to the United States.
So if your loved one died, blame Poodle. Sorry.
Yeah.
But we can't apologize for too long.
You had to have your baby alone and your husband had to sit in the car. Poodle's fault.
I can't spend the rest of my life apologizing.
Well, I just remember, like you were trying to get internet service and you were sitting in a lobby of a hotel because it was the only place you could get service. We're hearing like this orchestra playing in the back.
He's like, he sits in the lobby and he's like, okay, I think this works. And I said, where are you? And he said, I'm in the lobby.
I'm in the lobby of a hotel.
You're in the lobby, like going to do a podcast? He's like, yeah, it's going to work. I promise. And we get like 10 minutes in and then we hear, and I'm like, what the fuck is this noise? And he's like, oh, there's a concert here. Keep going. And I'm like, what?
Here's something for your listeners. If you are going to China and you don't have like a control over your environment, you may not be able to podcast regularly.
Good
just
to know.
a hint.
Yes. No, but I remember it was this whole thing. And I have this very distinct memory of watching a video of you, Matt, talking about like giving everybody an update because everyone's like, what's happening? What's happening?
Yes.
You're giving everyone an update. And at the end, you're like, God, pray for me. Pray for me. I'm having problems.
It's all about him.
Pray for me. I'm having to deal with.
Not that I was in the middle of a worldwide pandemic trying to get back.
You also had
almost-
your weird roommate who was trying to sleep with you, and you were torn because he was weird but had a really big dick.
It was Sophie's choice.
Yeah,
I knew if I slept with him, that would get weird. The rest of the tour would get really complicated.
Yeah.
So you waited till the last day?
I wish I could say, because they, like, about 3 or 4 days before the tour was about to end, that's when they're like, guys, we're getting you out of there. We're going to take you on a 16-hour bus ride across China. We're going to be in a charter bus, and we're going to stop at rest stops, and you're going to use your masks, and we're going to eat rest stop food for a while because we need to get you out of here, and you're going to leave Beijing in different flights. And that's kind of what happened. And none of us knew what was happening. None of us knew what COVID was going to become. We were the last flight back that did not have to quarantine.
Wow.
Yeah, so again, I'm sorry about COVID, y'all. My bad. My bad.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. But yes. So this is absolutely, we are big fans, been listening to you for a long time. So thank you for the hours of entertainment.
Yes,
because
you make us laugh so hard. We love talking about your show. And did you hear what Poodle said? Lots of those.
It's really fun for us just because it's so much. Life is complicated nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And just to find joy in something and being able to talk about something and just have a lot of fun with it, and knowing that someone else is going to listen and going, maybe that'll make their day easier.
Yeah.
Or just something to take them away from something. And that keeps us going.
Yeah. Another thing that I love is that it's a combination of, just pure silliness, but also you guys talk about some very serious topics, because we both have those sides to us, where we have a serious side and then we have this funny side. And I love that, you just kind of talk about whatever you want to talk about, and whatever it happens to be. And, you guys sometimes can get really deep into,
we're clowns,
talking
but
about
we're sad
that.
clowns.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said we're clowns, but we're sad clowns sometimes.
Oh, okay.
And I think I don't think you can have one without the other. I don't, and I think they really are two sides of the same coin. In a way that I think the ridiculousness is its own version. And it's not that I think you need sugar to make the medicine go down. I'm just saying there's the part of you that's laughing at something and that's curious about something and making fun of something is the same curiosity that leads you to ask bigger questions and or more or deeper questions. And both of us are interested in that, and we don't shy away from it.
No. And definitely as a comedian before this, I've always operated that, and what Carol Burnett says, that comedy is just tragedy plus time. And so that was how we always talk about when we laugh at something, it's how we deal with it. But it does, it's a balance of you want to talk about hard things and potentially personal things, but then some things you don't, because, people get really invested in your life and you're trying to move on or this or that. But it was very rewarding for me to talk about my dad. I had to. And so I didn't realize how much talking about him having cancer and his death, how much that would affect people in a positive way. So that was a big, I mean, we always operated, but for me, that was a learning curve for me of it really is okay to go into these subjects sometimes that are a little uncomfortable or that bring us quote unquote down, because it's in that relation to one another. As I tell people, I'm like, hey, I'm in the Dead Dads Club. It's a sucky club, but you're not alone, and we're all going to be there one day. So it's been something that's been very helpful for me personally.
Well, I think also your backgrounds, because when Brooke told me about the show, she's like, one is a life coach and the other one is a therapist. And because I'm both a therapist and a coach myself. Yeah. So I think, so she was like, oh, you know, and I love,
now we just tell dick jokes full
yes,
time.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
but I still got to go make a living.
Yeah.
But
the intention's the same. Yeah.
But the, I think that has always given, this background has always given both of you a certain amount of, and this job, the work that you do when you're working with people, you have to have a lot of empathy. And when you really understand someone and meet someone, it's like people say, have you ever had a client you really hated? It's like, in the end, with the ones, if you're going to sit in front of me and be vulnerable, it's really hard to hate you.
Yeah,
it's really hard to dislike someone. And so what I always enjoy about, and what we try to do here is not necessarily like see people as complex, because it's reality TV. People are complex. You're getting them at weird times.
Yeah.
And certainly there are people that are just like, ugh, Cody Brown. You're just like, ugh,
yeah, come on.
Across the board, have a hard time with. But for the most part, you know, these people are complicated.
Yeah.
And I do think that there has to be some level of empathy in a through line, right? When you talk about these people.
Yeah. It's why we watch reality television. Is there's something about if casting does well, there's something about them that we see something simpatico, that we go, oh, I know someone who's like that, or I do that, I behave that way, or boy, in my earlier life when I wasn't as comfortable in myself, that's how I behaved. And so this casting is so smart in reality television because they cast these archetypes, and yes, people are complicated, but the way these shows are edited, they can show us an archetype, and it's just like, oh, there's the narcissist, there's the guy, there's Rob from Rob and Sophie.
I mean, you see it. I've always said Darcy is how I realized I was codependent, because these people, these people that we see on and I've learned a lot. And people have told me this too. Like, that's why we like talking about Love is Blind, not this last season. But still, though, there were some things rough. But there were some things that people said on the last season of Love is Blind that I was like, whoa, that we're still quoting as far as relationship lessons. But I think too, with 90 Day, especially, I think it's actually helpful. The reason that I guess it's still the Learning Channel, who the fuck knows? But anyway, but I think what's helpful is these people are Darcy is a larger than life version of who I am as a person. And a lot of these people are. However, because it's almost like, it's like when you're teaching something to someone that's not getting it, and you have to go overboard and go farther so they just see an ounce of relation or truth to themselves. That's what we think this show does for people. Because when we date, we're our best or worst selves when we're starting a relationship. That's why we like all these type of dating, Love After Lockup, these type of shows. Although Love After Lockup is its whole other thing.
Yeah, that's
a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Oh, meth.
To put it mildly.
Yes. Yeah. It's that. Yeah, it's true. I mean, all these people, we wouldn't be watching it if we didn't see something in it familiar in it.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. And people who say they don't like reality television, I think either they haven't seen the right one for them, or I think a lot of people who don't like reality television are not being honest with themselves. When people say I think it's a waste of time, I think they're maybe a little afraid of what they'll see. It's interesting when I say I cover reality television. Someone's like, "Well, I don't watch any of that," and I'm thinking, okay. And they're usually very dismissive of it, and I'm like, well. The thing about reality television is it does require some level of interaction. And a lot of scripted stuff doesn't. You can just kind of sit there and some reality television, Bravo less so, like shows like Below Deck doesn't require a lot of interaction. TLC, which is a documentary channel, and it requires you to feel a certain way about the characters. Mm-hmm. And I think it requires a level of give and take. And people who don't like reality television, either they're not ready to do it or they just want to disassociate. Because there's like Selling Sunset is a great way to disassociate because it's all fake.
Yeah.
But it's wonderfully fake and shiny and beautiful and candy-like. And I could watch 38 seasons of Selling Sunset with no problem.
Well, I think there's these reality shows, right? They all have a different place, a different need. Mm-hmm. Exactly what you're talking about. Selling Sunset, which I've watched some seasons and not some seasons. But yeah, it's very much like I'm going to go do the dishes and then I'm going to come back. And I don't need to hear every word and I can go and that's much more about like, short skirts and big white houses and all of that. But versus something like Sister Wives or Love After Lockup or, 90 Day Fiance, where it is someone investing and it's their lives. And, this is day-to-day life for me. And so this is what it's going to be. I think it definitely fulfills different parts of what we want to see. And I think there was an article that came out a couple years ago that talked about how they did some research and they found that people who watch reality TV were smarter, tended to be smarter.
I've heard that. And I believe, number one, especially documentary style, there's a certain savvy about personalities, dynamics of people that you like to see reflected. And that appeals to people of a certain intelligence. More than, I think of people who just aren't interested in that.
I think of curiosity, too.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you have to be curious.
Diversity that's one of the, diversity is so apparent in reality television because people have diverse lives with diverse people and they're filming in these bigger cities. Whereas if you watch a lot of, scripted shows, yes, diversity and things like that have gotten better, but it's kind of almost filtered through the whatever lens, the author's voice. But these are, you're not going to get people you're not going to get like Chantel and her family on a scripted show. This like crazy Southern Black family in Georgia. And I think like Poodle said, it's like people have to, these remind you of people in your life. And so you have to decide, am I for them or against them? Do I root for them? Do I not? Whereas like a housewife show, you're just like, well, y'all are all just, acting a fool.
The narrative is more created for you. It's where the story is scripted. It's also that type of reality show is much more camp, which I also enjoy. But a documentary style show in a way of like you're saying, Sister Wives, you need to decide whose side you're on. It's not difficult to know in Sister Wives. I doubt so many people are Team Robin these days. But when it started, you kind of had this idea of Robin being brought in, and I from the jump was like, who is this bitch?
Yeah. No, she was sus from moment one.
Yeah, I was sorry. Was anyone ever Team Robin? I mean, I felt like
I wonder where they are. Yeah.
You could see it from the beginning.
There's one woman out there who's just like, she's got a lot of good stuff to say. She's probably got a goiter.
Probably.
Like Robin, yeah.
Or she's trying to break up a plural family herself,
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, do you want to start? Do you want to start with start talking about Sister Wives,
or jump into Mormon?
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about. I when you were talking about ways to react to characters, those three Sister Wives, though, just so different. Janelle, Christine, and Mary Brown. What you basically have almost this like Shakespearean idea, very different. I don't know if I'd call Mary Shakespearean, but definitely Janelle and Christine.
Mary would definitely play a nurse.
That's true.
She would definitely, yeah.
She would be the nurse. That's true. The nurse, but the less funny nurse.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mean nurse.
The mean nurse who is so socially awkward, and has MLM sluts.
Oh God. Well, the MLM stuff. But it is, I think Sister Wives is so interesting because I didn't really watch the show. It wasn't until we started doing this podcast that it was right around the time that Christine was breaking up with Cody and things were getting really interesting. And Brooke's like, we got to cover this show. And I'm like, oh, wait a second. Okay, let me try to catch up. And so there's episodes that I've just fast forwarded through really quickly. I haven't seen. But
there's whole seasons you can fast forward through.
But then we started
telling you which ones to watch.
Yeah. No, there are better ones. But but what we found was that people loved Sister Wives. Like we could not, the numbers that we had were like 4 or 5 times. And then suddenly we were just like, okay, I guess we have to cover this more. But what's so interesting about it is it's fascinating because they have 15 years of material. You have 15 years of this family's life that you can go back and see. And you can see how these people have evolved and changed and grow. But also just to even see the evolution of Cody and who he's become. And is this, I mean, I find him fascinating because I'm like, is this who you've always been? Or is this what Robin has allowed you to become? Or is this what Robin filter, this is the influence of her?
That last part, I really think he was always this. And Robin has allowed that filter to drop and reinforced that persona. And because that's who she sees him to be, and that's how she would usurp power. Is him behaving that way because it's always been Robin pulling the strings the whole time. Cody is a buffoon.
He really is. Yeah, he really is, and that's the thing. And the fascinating thing about having 15 seasons to look back on is you look back and you're like, God, you people told a lot of lies.
Yes,
you had this show that was based on lies where you over and over again would say certain things, and now we find out that none of that is true. And in fact, it was worse than we ever could have imagined. And in this last season, in these last few episodes where they wrap up with the one-on-one interviews, we're just learning all kinds of stuff about how bad it really was and how bad Cody has always been like this.
It's so interesting because what we're also going to talk about Secret Love of Mormon Wives, the culture is based on lie when it's convenient and lie to hide the scars.
Yes.
Lie to, especially if it and women will lie for men because they need to protect men's status or and the idea that we as women we need to be insular. We don't need to tell anyone our problems. That's why we lie about them. And that's okay. Because that means we're keeping ourselves pure, but it also doesn't change all of the darkness that's happening.
Yeah, when you talk about the culture too, especially with the polygamists, they have to lie because they don't want to get arrested or in trouble or in
their daily life.
They are taught since the time that they're kids to lie. Like you cannot tell any of your friends at school that you have 3 moms. Like you just can't. And so, and it's amazing how well their children have, turned out, given the fact that they were raised to be liars.
Yes.
Well, it's interesting. That's when I'm thinking you can tell the kids they turned out differently. I think Christine's kids, you can always tell are going to be different than Robin's kids, which seemed like little children of the corn computer bots.
Yeah.
And you can see in the middle are Janelle's kids who, because Janelle was very reticent for so long to speak up and say anything. And Mary's is her daughter trans or not?
Leon.
Leon. It's
trans.
Her son now. So that's the kid who, you don't even, you can see a real disconnect because he didn't know how to behave watching his mom and dad.
And he was the only one of the children that ever talked about wanting to live plural marriage. That's
Yes.
another big too. Not one of those kids, and I do believe that Leon was confused and
Very
didn't
much
and
so.
and maybe this is right for me, but I think it's very, very telling that not one of those kids has picked this for their life, that this is at all what they want for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe Robin's kids. Well, who knows? I mean, those poor
those
daughters
little-
were just like, God, get out, get out, get out. Those poor
little,
girls.
little Megans, all those.
They're
little,
going to be forced. They're going to be forced into it. She's going to put. I think she's going to push them. They're wearing, like these Little House on the Prairie dresses already, and the bows in their hair.
And
we don't have a chance.
If you ever see them like somehow interact with like Christine's kids, they're just like, this is when a person says hello. This is a normal person would say, happy Saturday. And they're so happy valleyed out. They can't, the eyes are just glazed.
Yes.
And it's because you're right. Their whole life is a lie. And everything about saying you need to say you're okay and you're happy because sadness isn't tolerated.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're not really asked how you feel, you learn to lie.
Well, this reminds me, I'm going to switch over to Mormon.
Exactly right.
Real life, secret wives,
It's
lives of Mormon wives. It's very hard to say. But that's what was happening that I noticed with Jen, because this comes out, is the lying. And I wrote down a note. I said, I think that for Jen, the thought is, I don't think she's intending or wanting to lie. The thing is, it's almost like her truth isn't enough. My truth of how bad Zach isn't enough. It is, but it in her mind, it's almost like, oh, I need to now lie and say, well, he gambled away his student loan, his loan money. He does like, she has to create this thing, and it's like we all see it, like even without the gambling part of it.
Totally.
So it's almost like I can't tell you that oh yeah, he just gambles here and there. Let me make up a lie that's much bigger and much more, and then that way I'll get you on my side. And you'll go. And I don't think she's doing this right, being a mastermind or vindictive. I think she's just trying to get through the days.
I think she's scared.
It's survival.
I just think that she's just scared and surviving. And
she is terrified of that man.
Yeah. And she's in that culture where to break up and divorce, to do something like that takes, it has to be insurmountable odds or something that happens for you to actually to break off a marriage. So just having a gambling problem isn't going to, I see why that's not sufficient. It's a little bit of, we were a little taken aback of that with Demi, that there just wasn't, it seemed like all these women, either they were Mormon or they still are Mormon, so they are familiar with it in some way. We were surprised by the kind of lack of empathy from them of not seeing where Jen is coming from.
Yeah,
they're only taught to side with the men. You will, you will side with the men because the men get the priesthood. The inequality is greater in Mormon culture between women and women than almost any religion.
And that goes back to Eve biting the apple and taking the serpent. Yeah. That's like that women can't be trusted. And you see that
and other women think that other women can't be trusted.
Yes.
So it's like Macy said something late in the season, and we clocked it and we talked about it for a while. If you haven't seen it, but Macy's talking to Jesse, I believe. And she says, because they're talking about Demi. And being able to have friends, and Jen as well. They're like, isn't it funny that having a friendship is actually harder to manage than your relationship? Mm-hmm. And we went, oh no, because they always defer to the husband. Mm-hmm. So being able to be friends with other women is hard.
Mm-hmm. But yet their motto is, one of the mottos of Mom Talk is they're crushing the patriarchy.
Yeah, and that is the outside intention, and we laugh about it.
Yeah,
but they kind of are in their own way.
In a weird way, they kind of are. Also, in a weird way, that's a lie. Mm-hmm. That, like you brought up, lying. That's a lie they tell themselves.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, in their own credit, they're doing more for that younger female culture in Mormonism than a lot of people ever have, and they have a bigger platform to do it. Are they moving it fast? No. But
I want to push back
inch
fast,
by inch.
maybe not to you, but it feels fast to a lot of them. So, and I don't think you've gotten to these episodes yet, but it's really this episode or this season, you really see with Taylor Frankie Paul, how much not only does she have her own guilt of how she's handled her relationship and what she's done and the injury with her, all of that kind of stuff.
It's also the swinging scandal.
But it's the swinging scandal, but it's also the shame from her family.
Yes.
I don't know if you've gotten to the bar.
Oh, no. We did.
Oh, yeah.
That was, I think, the second episode. But I really want to get into this family and what's going on with them. But I will say that I assume you watched the first season. So this season, I was like, they learned 2 new words, triggered and accountability.
They did.
Because they use them a lot. Second only to mom talk is mentioned the most.
What's that ketamine therapy? They're heading to ketamine therapy now. So it's just, can't drink alcohol or Dr. Pepper, but I can get a little ketamine from the therapist. That's just going to go great.
That looked fun to me. That kind of.
Well, have you guys, I actually, a friend of mine asked me, his wife wanted to do this ketamine and he's like, do you mind just hanging out? Because it'd be nice to have someone there who could maybe if it goes wrong, your therapist.
By the time I graduated almost almost 20 years from grad school. So now it's that was nobody.
I've never done
that.
ketamine. Yeah.
Okay.
I've done a lot of other drugs, but just not ketamine.
I'm surprised I never did Special K or something like that. When I was younger, I was like, if it's a pill, I'll take it. Anything I could snort, take, I would love it.
But it was funny too, because I used to work in drug and alcohol treatment, 10 plus years ago. And ketamine was the thing that people broke into vets' offices to take. And it was very unknown and undercover. But what's interesting is after witnessing this woman go through it, what I found was basically she just kind of discovered my life is okay. Things are okay with me. It just kind of makes you a little high. And then you're kind of okay. I think it's just and I'm wondering with them because they don't drink. Maybe, we don't know. Yeah. But because the whole time I'm watching all of these events going, my God, I could not be sober for all of this. So I don't know if it's they're feeling high for the first time and that sort of allows them to maybe be more vulnerable or open. And then this is how things are happening. Why that is such a popular thing for them all to use.
I think you're right about it. Lets them be, it somehow impairs them enough to allow to question certain things, maybe.
Yeah.
And I think it allows them to have a little safety with when they're under to maybe really think about emotions they're having. Because you're right, they're not drinking. So this is their way of, if it's therapy, but therapy is somehow impairing their judgment, impairing their fear of actually experiencing emotions. I think that could be very popular.
Well, we see with Jen that it's actually hard for her to vocalize her emotions because they've been conditioned through their church not to do that. So maybe that does give them this freedom to feel.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was wondering. I'm maybe this is it. Maybe this is all because she and Zach can't talk to each other. So maybe they seem to be having a good time at the ketamine, place. So.
And when they talk to each other, he completely gaslights the living shit out of her every time he talks. It is truly one of the most appalling displays of narcissism that I've ever seen in reality.
You see the manipulation of it. I know as a therapist, and now that you've seen the whole season, it is the way...
It's next level.
The manipulation of just shaming her for her feelings and then putting Jen against her friends immediately and not taking any responsibility. It's very textbook.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and it's interesting because a lot of them, the husbands are awful. The first season, the husband, Whitney's husband, the one who I swear was in the witness protection program, kept changing outfits. Like, he had a new identity every time.
The hair was different more, and the outfits. God bless him.
Yes.
She's just trying not to suck a dick.
That's right. We were questioning that.
Oh, we think he's queerer than Christmas.
Oh, okay.
You know what it is? I will say this. I'm all for lavender marriage. I'm all for... Because at least they know what it is, and they're making jokes about it. I will say this: if they're both happy, more power to them. Mm-hmm. I kind of wish they would either stop. It's not that they have to come out about it, but more making fun of it doesn't make it go away for them. And I think they're thinking about that. Remember, though. All these women they're in Provo, Utah. Even though they dress and they've got hair extensions and they use big words, they're still so fucking provincial.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They have never been anywhere. They're so naive. They don't know anything about the world.
Yes.
And that's the lie there, that they think that they still are somehow worldly at all, and they are not.
Psych Legal Pop will be back after these messages.
Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, I said this last season, and I'll say it again because I specialize in working with young adults, and I work with 20-somethings, and this is what I do. And I'll say it again, which is this is why you need to have these 20-something years. You need to date random people. You need to have fun. You need to, make out in the shower together, have sex over here. Like you need to do all of these things, experience all these things, figure out who you are, and then make some life choices. What's so hard to watch about this is I'm watching these women. I'm like, I'm not here to judge you. You've got to go through. I'm like, Taylor, great. You guys want to swing? I don't care. But the thing is but now Taylor, you have 3 kids from 2 different men. You now all have children and marriages that are ending and then getting married again and having,
they're all so young, like 24,
and they're so young.
25.
Jen is 25 and she's got now 3 children
3 kids.
With this guy. This is the guy that you date for maybe a year or 2 and then you dump him and you get away from him. Like what is
bad
all
boyfriend,
of these men? And that's why I think these men all suck because they're all like the crappy first boyfriend.
You know what?
Really
you need one bad boyfriend and pray you don't have any children by him.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And every woman who's listening goes, yeah, I had him. And either, oh shit, I did have children with him and I love my children, but god damn, that was a bad move. Or thank God I was on the pill. Because this guy would have been the worst father and I'd have to drag that around. But the problem is culture is institutionalized there to get married early. And it doesn't matter if they're a bad boyfriend. You marry them because you're supposed to.
Well, and you bring up birth control. That's one of the religious tenets. Probably, you're not supposed to use birth control.
And I will say, a lot of them, more. We were asking about this question. More of them use birth control than you would think.
Probably,
a lot of LDS sissies reached out and say, yeah, that's a thing. So family planning does happen. It's not outlawed, nor is it really encouraged, if that makes any sense.
But then it's also, though, probably not educated.
You don't know.
They don't
that
know.
Is true.
They don't know what they're doing.
Well, in any religious context, you're really not educated about sex or birth control.
No. Well, but I think it's a lot to ask people to wait until they find just the right person to have sex. I mean, I really do. I think that, listen, some people do, that's great. But I just think you're setting this thing up if you are asking 18, 19, 20-year-olds, like, wait. And then we see all this kind of weird stuff with the show, because there seems to be a lot of making out and dry humping.
Soaking.
All of this stuff. All these ways around the same thing, versus if you just let them have sex and you give them birth control condoms and just let them go, then they'll be able to make their own decisions. But I do
Tess,
think
they wouldn't have children then. They need these children.
Yeah, no, it's true. They need to populate their religion.
How are we going to create little ones to brainwash and keep the religion going?
Yes, I guess that's true.
Yeah. I've listened to so many podcasts on Mormonism, more than I'd like to admit, because I'm fascinated with the religion, aka scam of it all.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it literally was, besides Scientology, which was literally designed to make money. Mormonism is another perfect con of a religion.
Yeah. Well, they all do seem to have a lot of money, too.
Well, it is designed to make money because it's the most American religion. I mean, that was created.
It is. Money, business, and a business acumen, hard work is one of the big core principles.
And savings, whether it's food, money, they're all about saving for when you get your own planet or whatever.
Yeah. When you get your own planet with all the wives. Yeah.
Yeah.
You see God on Kolob.
Yeah. What did you think of? So this is something that came up, I think, in the first episode, maybe the second one, about Jen and the Ben Affleck thing.
That was kind of gaslighting. He was gaslighting her.
Oh, yeah.
So I was kind of trying to watch this whole thing of so he's kind of coming. So he's coming back and saying, but this was a family joke. That was a family joke. That was a family joke. Why are you repeating it? And I told you not to repeat it.
And it was a joke that was used in interviews in the first season. They both talked about it. He's like, it might have been like a cousin way back. They both kind of, and Jen said, well, yeah. And her answer was, they're tangentially related. And regardless if it is, the fact that him telling her, he's like, but yeah, you're like grandfather, your uncle was talking about it. He's like, yeah, he was joking. And he was telling her, they're all laughing at you. And it was chilling, that scene. And I was like, I didn't think this guy could get worse. And every single episode, he got worse and worse and worse.
You can cut your hair.
Please.
but you're still the same guy.
But you're still the same. Okay, that makes a lot more sense now, because I was so confused about this argument. I'm like, what is he talking about? Wait a minute, what is she?
Gaslit the shit out of her with that.
Wow.
He changed his story. That's what he did, basically.
It was staggering. And I'm going to say this: instead of a doctor, he should have been a lawyer, because he's really, really good at what he does.
Yes,
at making women crazy. It's dangerous.
It's true.
I can say when someone's very good at what they do, and this is the other thing when you're talking about growing up in a family, growing up in a culture of lying, when you get to where you can lie enough where you believe it's the truth. And he would tell you, I only have the best intentions. But through a narcissistic personality, the intentions don't matter. He's just doing it now because he's used to doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
What I find so interesting about the show is, and just sort of when you're talking about Mormonism and all of this, right, there's two parts to it. There is the image, and then there's the behind the scenes of the truth, or what the reality is. And you see this all the time on the show with Mom Talk, because Mom Talk is both the image and the behind the scenes, what's also happening here. And I think so much of this whole thing about having my back, like this is such an issue for people. Like, what does it mean to have someone's back? And, narcissists, if you don't have their back, if you don't agree with them constantly, then you're wrong, and all of that. And it's just fascinating to watch how hard it is for them to kind of get like, wait, I need to be on this person's side for this, but oh no, I need to be on their side for this. I need to be on their side over here. Like, none of them ever seem to know what they really want and what they believe, like what is true to them. It's always about, well, who else is agreeing with this? Is this happening in the public forum? Is this happening behind the scenes? Is this about my marriage and my kids? Is this about this? It's this weird, I just wonder for them, like, I can't, when they talk about Mom Talk, I'm like, what are we even talking about? It's this weird thing. It's like, it's 15 things.
It's this, they never think about what they want and how, and they never think about what they want and who they are. The only thing, especially as women, all they're thinking about is how they're perceived, period. And that's what this, and that's what this, how am I perceived to make sure I'm accepted? And so you're not going to know when you've never sat and asked yourself what you really want out of life, what's exciting to you, what's scared you. That those deeper questions never get they never get answered. It's what's the name of the song from Book of Mormon, Poodle? The one where they say turn it off, or
turn it off.
Turn it off. It's like,
don't
you get
answer
this
those
emotion
questions about feeling gay.
You get a deep. This is talking about being gay, but it's the same thing. Like, if somebody says, "Well," we bring up a question of should women be able to? Nope. We turn it off. We disassociate. We put that in a box because what we've learned, what I know from my own friends that are LDS and from watching these stories. Sorry, there's a car honking behind me. Alarm.
No, it's I don't know if
it's I wish they could turn that off. Sorry about that. But if we need to hold, let me know.
No, don't worry about it.
Okay. But it's this idea, though, that when you are in this group mindset, if you're not, because, Mormonism was built on, it's built on a narcissist. Joseph Smith was just an egomaniac. So it's filtered through that. If
he was a grave robber person who decided to start a religion and a cult.
And so it's built on this premise, kind of what you said earlier, Tess, about narcissists, that if you don't agree with them, you're against them. So that is the culture. And so what happens, I don't know if a lot of people realize this, but if someone goes against the Mormon church, they're written out of the family, they're written out of the community, like they lose their entire life. That's terrifying to these people. And so that's why they keep going along with it.
Yeah. Well, I always say people, what are we built for? Why are we here? And when I try to explain to my clients why they're reacting, I said at the core, it's about survival. We are about surviving, and that's why we have the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, right, response to things when there's wind in the bushes, that kind of jarring. We react that way. We are still very much cave people. And it really does come down to this combination of survival and belonging, because belonging is survival once upon a time.
Especially in this culture.
Yes. And so this is what cults do, right? Is they figure out how do we make survival and belonging, interconnected and make it so, because in the modern world that we live in, you don't necessarily, as a kid, you have to get along with your parents, and that's a whole other story. But once you're an adult, you technically don't have to do as much belonging as you once upon had to do, just in the world that we live in. But it's still very much there. And it's part of our DNA. It's part of what we desire and want and need.
Right.
And so much of what they're doing is really playing on this combination of belonging and belonging means you live.
And what's weird is Taylor Frankie Paul, upended all of it. And she was kind of like the modern day Hester Prynne, and no one wanted to touch all of that scandal. But they're like, how do we deal with Taylor still doing this? And Taylor basically says, I'm not really, especially with the other women. She says, yeah, I feel bad about this, but she's like, I refuse to lie about this. And so she's talking about the specifics of the swinging scandal. And when she's sitting there, I think it's on the second episode, when she's talking to Miranda, she's like, but this happened. And Miranda's like, well,
I'm not sure. I don't know. That's kind of how Miranda talks. Oh, yeah.
But she's like, no, we kissed each other on the lips. She's like, oh, well, yeah, but I didn't consider that. And there's all this lying. And you see her lying confronted with Taylor going, no, this happened. And it's so wonderfully brave to say that. And that's why she's the star of this series, because she's the only one who's telling her truth and saying it loud.
What's fascinating is Miranda lies in the first episode. She's like, I never touched a wiener, don't worry. And then by episode 2, she's like, oh, yeah, okay, all that happened.
Because it takes Taylor saying it first.
Yeah.
Well, and Miranda said the reason why she came back to Mom Talk was because, she finds herself divorced, no friends. And so she's willing to put up with whatever shit these women are going to throw at her because she wants that belonging and all of that.
Yeah.
But this whole thing with both her and Whitney trying to get back into the Mom Talk fold, we all know that, I get it. They're skeptical because now we're famous and now we're on the show and now you want to be here. But I also think what's so interesting is when we talk about this lying is they all don't know how much they can't even trust each other. Even Demi and Jesse, who are really good friends, they can't even. I mean, I'm in the middle of episode 9 right now, so I don't know exactly what happens with them. But the two of them, they're supposed to be these really close friends, and they can't seem to figure out how to be honest with each other and truthful with each other, and even own up to I said this about you. I'm sorry.
I'll tell you a little bit about that. One of the issues is Jesse is a total follower. And desperately needs to kind of is in a way, she's the one with the most resources because she comes either from a wealthy family or already has a business because the house they live in or her husband has a lot of money. They have the most resources. She does all their hair. She's the one who does all these girls' trips. So it's almost like she's the friend. She's like, please be my friend. And Demi is the one who's capitalizing on it the most because she knows Jesse is so just ready to fit in. And that she's pulling her to that kind of villain side. And the saddest thing is Demi was a shitty villain because she couldn't actually follow through. And when she did, she was all bluster. No, the villain is still the same villain it was in season 1. And that is Whitney, because she is the same snake she always was. There's a scene. I don't know if you're not there now. There's a scene in the moment that Whitney does in episode 10 that will take your breath away.
All right.
It is incredible. I said the whole season, Whitney is going to send Demi out with a sword. And Demi will fall on it and Whitney will walk over her dead body.
Wow. Well, I'm in New Orleans right now. I can't wait for all that to happen.
It is incredible.
Yeah.
This season, I did not love this season as much as the first. I don't think you can ever replicate the first season because they were trying to tell, they thought they had
didn't
one
know
story.
They were famous.
Yeah.
They thought they had one story. They didn't know they were famous. Taylor,
Camelot.
And then the rest of the season, it's still one of my favorite reality show seasons ever was season 1 of that show. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was really something.
So so let's talk about Taylor's and her family because this scene where they have dinner, it was just what her father slut shaming her and all of it. I mean, I could not believe this family at all. I mean,
just her crying and saying, I feel like trash.
Yeah.
Saying it to them, and yet they're still shaming her. Well, but you basically saying, because you were trash. Or
the hardest thing about this is
sister, the mom.
It didn't surprise me at all because I grew up in rural South Carolina, where if a girl slept with a boy, well, it was obviously her choice to do so, and she's a slut. And he is what's the word for him? Oh, we don't have one. And
boys being boys.
He's just a boy being a boy, because boys can't make decisions when women,
and they can't control their needs.
They can't control their bodies, and so there's not a word for a male slut. It's me. So
I think it's poodle. Yeah.
But the issue there was that they kept harping on it, and she, instead of her saying, "I just feel like trash," instead of saying, "Don't say that," you're doing what you can now to make things better for yourself. They insisted upon, and Dakota was right there, basically saying, the stepfather's like, well, what else was he supposed to think with you calling him late at night? And things like that. And he's like, that's what I'm saying. But the fact when the mom and the stepfather and the brother all rolled over in favor of Dakota, that's cultural Mormonism's dependence on the men. And how the men are the holders of the priesthood, and they know the best.
And it's interesting how
sick.
The mom in the first season hated him so much and told her, "Don't get with him, don't get with him."
But as soon
as she got pregnant, if you notice now this season, she's like, "Well, you've got to work it out. You've got to do this." And so now with Taylor, she's probably, it's just even more confusing, because I mean, I look at her and, because some people say, "Oh, she's crazy," or "She's bipolar," or "She's this or that," and I look at her, I think she is the product of mixed messages surrounding her constantly, and she's just confused as hell. Because what y'all were saying earlier, she's never had to stop and think about, what do I want? Who am I really? It's just, it's like, I imagine,
and she's just discovering it.
Radio airwaves coming at her all the time from her family.
That's why she's fascinated.
Turn it off.
Yeah.
She's just now discovering that that everything she told, that she was taught and that she grew up with, didn't make her feel good. It made her feel shame.
In fact, it was bullshit.
Yeah.
And there was part of her that was always starting to rebel at that. And she was the bad girl. She was the wild girl. That's what they said. When all the others in that group, they complied. They were compliant.
Well, and also in Tusk, you could speak to this because you still, but I remember in school studying this, and the little bit that I worked with youth, like, I don't think a lot of adults realize that labels that we assign to children and teenagers, they will take on the label.
Oh, yeah.
And
yes.
she was assigned that label. Yeah. That goes to like a little kid saying, "Oh, they're oh man, they're ornery." So those things get taken on. And Taylor was always a wild child and always told she was the bad kid.
You fulfilled the prophecy.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is that at that age, especially in the world that we live in today, I mean, it's very different than when I was in my 20s, pre cell phones and all of this. But there is a lot of noise when you're young. There's a lot of noise. You've got your parents, you've got your friends, and now young people today have the world noise. Yeah. And these women have the church, everybody in the community, mom talk, so it's even more. And so the biggest challenge when you're young is to learn how to turn down the noise of everyone else, figure out who am I going to turn the noise up for? And who am I going to listen to and who am I not going to listen to? And I'm always encouraging my clients, you take that's fine. You can take in what they have to say, but you then have to get quiet with yourself and really figure out what is it that you want, what's going to make you happy, because you're the only one that's going to have to live your life. Your parents don't have to go to that job. You do. So you have to be the one to do it. And that's this piece where I see them and I see how noisy everything is because they're getting the opinions of the viewers. They're getting the opinions of just people who love mom talk. And when I was watching that scene with Taylor, I'm just looking at my notes, and it was just they're all just saying to her, your feelings don't matter. Your feelings don't matter. And your feelings are too big, and and they're too difficult. And and now you're creating all this chaos because we've got this guy Dakota here who's so great.
Yeah.
I love him.
What a winner.
I'm telling y'all, he got a hair transplant.
Yes, I saw that.
Said before, he's going to be unstoppable now.
Yeah.
So it's just
Look out.
that was holding him back.
Yes.
And now with those eyes and a new head of hair, watch out, Provo ladies.
Well, I think it Zach who was saying that he on the daily gets death threats from people, and one, or was it Dakota who said
I think probably 10 of them are probably for me.
But I mean, as much as much as we don't like Zach, he doesn't deserve to be getting death threats, and that's the thing. I mean, watching these people gives me anxiety because it's like there's so much
too.
There's so much going on in that angst. Like they've got that 20, the angst of being in your 20s and all this crazy stuff, but yet they're mothers and people are dependent on them. And they have kids, and it's like they're supposed to be mature and I mean, it's just, I don't know. I mean, if when I was 25, I couldn't have handled any of this. No. And then add on top of that, like you said, the internet and just the whole world.
What you're hitting at is just one of the reasons that makes this show so spectacular is the stakes are incredibly high.
Yes, they are.
Even though it's about a group of female mom influencers, the stakes are so high.
Yeah.
And that is what creates, and they're authentically high. It's different than I don't know if you guys watch Below Deck, but sometimes
I used to. It's been a while.
We used to cover the show, and it never made as for us. It never made as good of a podcast as it did just to watch. But mostly because they inflate the stakes, and sometimes they inflate the stakes to make things more interesting. In the beginning of that show, the stakes were already high because it was Captain Lee and Kate going, I don't know what the fuck these people are going to eat. These people are insane. and it felt authentic. And the stakes of this show are so high, and they're authentically that way because this is such an insular community where everything depends. Everything has so many things that need to go right. And everything depends on someone else liking you. And someone else
perfection. Perfection. It's trying to be pure and white and as you can. You
can't find a better reality show with the bigger stakes than this. It is just it's one of the reasons why it's so compelling. And I
want to talk about the Halloween party because
we had a lot to say about this.
Worst costumes ever.
I watched this
there
Halloween
were no gays
party.
involved.
And so can I just ask you? Did this party not feel like a party that you attended in the 6th grade, the 7th grade, where everyone's in little corners and talking, and then, oh my God, okay, I'm going to go over there and talk to him. Okay, hi. Oh my God, what's happening? Blah, blah, blah. And then the cops come and they're running out and there's no alcohol. You know what I mean? That's what it felt like. It felt like junior high.
And the costumes themselves were so low effort. Growing up as a theater kid, I was incensed at I will say, I give it up for Miranda with buying that crab costume
and keeping the claws on.
She's crying like I can't cry with these crab claws. I'm so sad.
And dabbing her eyes.
I gotta take off these claws.
What was she? Was this supposed to be SpongeBob? SquarePants?
Maybe. I think she was some
I bet it was supposed to be
crab.
something like someone got crabs and she's crab, because they all kind of make these they also do the lame sexual innuendo jokes that you make in
that's
5th
dirty
grade.
For them.
Yeah.
Because we've said this too, the men and the women now, they're all emotionally stunted.
Yes.
They're all 14 years old emotionally or younger. And so I think that Halloween party is just that. It's that because that's such a, when you said that, that's true. Because I remember having a 6th grade party in my garage.
Yes.
And that's what it was. People were just going in little groups. And that was when Becky Drummond went off and made out with Cal Kendall sitting on our doghouse. And then my mama got a call. Because they weren't supposed to be there. And she's like, you weren't watching my kid, because Becky was younger and Cal was a little bit older. He was more my brother's age, so he was 3 years older. Or maybe that was anyway, they got in big trouble. But you know what? They've been married now for 30 years. Got 2 kids.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, it's
So
a happy
what's
ending.
the moral of that story?
Fuck young. Fuck young.
Get it while you can.
Let your older man, let your older teenager
The
make out with
doghouse
You know
is
what?
a great place to. I don't know.
Yes, a neighbor's doghouse is always a good place to get laid.
Yes.
on top of the doghouse. I have so
They were
many
just
follow-up
making out.
questions.
I know.
I'm gonna have to talk to you about this after this.
This is like soft
I
swinging.
have too many
Were they
follow-up
soft swinging?
questions. Anytime he always tells this, I'm like, I'm gonna need.
It wasn't my
fully-
6th grade party. It was my 8th grade. So she was in 8th grade, and he was like a sophomore.
My mother would have never let me have a party like this. She was like, "This is gonna be too much mess for me to clean up."
Oh
Doing
yeah,
this.
it was a lot in the garage. Yeah.
But all of it, I mean, just I don't know. I'm not big on costumes. I'll be honest with you. I'm not great with this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't get. I think anybody who's wearing anything is like, wow, okay. But just the whole atmosphere of everything, just the fact that there's no drinks, they're all drinking mocktails, and there's food and all of it. Just the fact that, and then there's a fight, and then there's all these little fights,
And
things
a
happening.
Chippendale show, like
A Chippendale show. That's
show.
exactly what happened to my part. In 6th grade.
Please.
Well, and what happened? And what happened there is litigated later about who touched who and what happened there, and it's just all so pearl clutchy for everything. But at the same time, in a previous episode, the funniest thing is they're all being so pearl clutchy about something, but Taylor has just fucked 2 other guys in the room who have been in the same room with somebody. And then and she's just there, and they're all like, "Oh my God, who would do this? Why would someone do this to my husband?" And Taylor's like, "Amateurs the whole time." And I'm just like, it just feels like if I was her, I'm like saying, "And you're pissed about this? Do you know what we did in those rooms?" And that's the hypocrisy of it all. Is they will do this stuff behind closed doors, but if something happens on camera, it's like, I have to defend my wife, or you were disrespecting my marriage. It's a lot of it. You talked about being it's the surface of how things look, and they're obsessed with that in the culture of Mormons.
I couldn't tell if what was the husband's name who went off?
Brett.
Yeah,
with Brett and Demi.
The way that he overreacted, and then the other Chippendale's husband. The way that they overreacted to that whole thing, the way that Demi reacted, it was just like, I couldn't tell. Is this real? This is how they act all the time. Like, this is how did they overreact to this extent? I mean, it was nothing. It was so stupid. And he's going to go out there and try to beat this guy up because he kind of sort of touched his wife's costume. I mean, her costume was huge. Okay,
And
she didn't even
was just
feel
being
it.
dramatic.
She was being dramatic.
Yeah.
I think Demi knew exactly what she was doing by saying, "He just touched me," and that means in Mormonism, prove you're a man, that you love me.
Yeah, and defend your woman.
Exactly. And the other guy basically took that as, we're both on the football team together, and I've got your back. Now, it does go right down to Neanderthal behavior. You're exactly right. But I think it was.
Does it turn us on a little bit? Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well,
a little. We need to process that.
Brett is the best husband, right? He is the hottest and like the only one. Yeah, I mean, he's the only one that you can even think about. What I thought was so interesting about that moment was, Chase is a douche. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, dear God. But when he walked by Demi, I mean, she's basically saying, hey, your girlfriend's outside. I mean, you're not being particularly kind to him in this moment. You're yelling at him. And then he comes by and I think he lightly tapped her, and he was kind of condescending. He was a little kind of arrogant and condescending, like, where's your husband? Where's Brett? And I think it was like there was a pause. There was a moment in which she was like, which way am I going to take this? Which way am I going to go with this?
Yeah.
And I think she just was like, this guy, Shane, I didn't like how that felt. Like he hurt my feelings because it was condescending. You were being condescending to him, but okay. And so it was just like, Brett, he touched me. And then it was, you knew exactly what that was going to be. And again, we're back to this whole thing of, with Jordan standing behind him, take accountability.
Right.
I'm like, well, there's that word again, accountability.
Yeah.
It was all a power struggle.
Yeah.
Because to be a woman in Mormonism is to be powerless.
Mm-hmm.
And where you can find power is getting your man to do something because of sexism. Because I'm a damsel and he said something to me. Mm-hmm. So you need to, that is how the power dynamic flips.
Mm-hmm. And Brett didn't even bother to get any details. She said
he didn't investigate at all.
Matter.
I mean, he's running out of there and having no idea what even happened, had the severity of this or anything about it. And that was, to me, so weird.
Like he's her plaything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like he's her soldier. And she knows that.
Yeah.
And so that's a way to somehow, that's a power grab. Mm-hmm. And she really tried to do that this whole season. She just had too much hubris.
Yes.
And that is every failed leader's problem or aspiring leader's problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, this happens all the time in these reality shows where there is a fan favorite. There's someone that people really liked. On the first season, I did like Demi, because she was kind of the cool chick, kind of making comments, and
it got to her head.
And it got to her head. And we see this every time with the housewives and all that. We see this every time.
Poodle ever gets on Big Brother and he becomes popular, he's going to be a monster.
Oh my God.
Like just a raging
when
bitch.
I come back to the podcast after Big Brother, whether I've been voted out first or not, if they know what's good for them, they should vote me out first. But I'm going to come there saying, star of CBS Big Brother.
That'll be on your tombstone.
I'll be wearing a robe that says CBS the whole time.
But that's the same thing with Demi, right? It all got to her head, and now there's this comeuppance, and that's what's so crazy about all of this is, again, they're working all these things out about themselves right in front of us, and it goes back to that whole belonging thing. Like, I was loved by the audience. I'm accepted. I belong. Mm-hmm. So I am good. So I can, the world wants me. I mean, Demi really didn't
That's
get
why she didn't go to the reunion.
Yeah.
She didn't go to the reunion because she saw the backlash.
Did you guys hear that? She's the only one who wasn't at the reunion. And she said the excuse was,
yes, I heard about this. Yeah.
We had a family trip planned for Disneyland that day and we couldn't change anything.
Non-refundable tickets.
And also, she was already in Southern California where they filmed the reunion. Methinks something happened where she decided at the very last minute she wasn't going.
Yeah.
I think she saw the backlash and went, uh-oh, I don't know how to respond to that.
Well, do you think Brett, Brooke, this comes out later on?
Yeah, I know you can.
Brett, do you think Brett cheated, or do you think, because everything else has been true? Like, every rumor we've heard in this show has come true.
Here's what I think. I think Brett has somehow, he's probably been alone with a woman who wasn't his wife. I don't know if he's done the full cheat, but I do believe that the Jesse Mauricio, or is it Marciano? I'm sorry. Marciano thing is just a ginned up idea. I think that was somehow, but I don't care because it's going to be so juicy. I can't wait to see them all gossiping about it. Now, supposedly, we had a listener go to Jesse's, who's at a hair show, because Jesse does all these hair trade shows. Jesse met Jesse at a trade show and just apropos of nothing, told Jesse about the podcast, and she's like, she recorded a little message for us and said, and the sissy said she was incredibly nice and she talked to me for a while. So take that for what it's worth. But I think Jessie knows what she's doing on the show. She's realized she can be more than a follower. I think Demi's probably done. Because no one, you watch the last episode, no one really wants to put up with her shit.
She's horrible.
Yeah.
But they did film everything. after this. They kept filming, and the next 10 episodes drop in the fall.
I know. And this is obviously, this is the fall of when they taped last time.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, because when you really think about it, like this has only been a couple months later.
Totally.
And so, we're picking up, and it's like, okay, I understand why you're all annoyed that Whitney's coming back into the fold and all these other kinds of things. But again, it's part of, you do need to let her come back in. It's part of this game that we all play where we pretend like we're friends, but.
Never forget that Whitney became so famous for doing a TikTok while her son was on a respirator.
Yeah, in the NICU.
Yes. Okay.
In the NICU. There no notes. No notes for how perfect that is.
Tells you everything you need to know.
Okay, so please, this is the other thing, is I watch the show and I think I must be old because I really don't understand these dances. Like, so we're all like head bob, neck. Like, is this what people want to watch? We're all doing this together, or I'm standing here and I'm putting a message above.
Tess Brooke, I don't think this is something for our generation to understand.
No, not for us. Not for us.
I don't think that we are the audience for this. I think it also looks ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Dumb. It is not something. It's something happens in your head at a certain part where you lose the ability to understand some things. What a younger age group likes. Mm-hmm. Like, we can't comprehend it.
Yeah, but you know what? I said this when we talked about last season. These women are too old to be doing this because
I agree.
These are the kind of things that my daughter did in junior high. Those kind of dances. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is so old. It's just I don't know why they're doing it.
Yeah,
but stunted. I think it's
Yeah.
No,
I think it's the sophistication level, right? Because Brooke's daughter's named Layla, another Layla. So, but because Layla grew up in Oakland and the Bay Area, like she was, these people. This is what they would do out there. By now, she's off. Layla's got a million other things going on. But I think that this is showing you how young, they're doing things that we all thought, kids thought were cool.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of Mormon, because this plays to Mormon girls. That's who these girls mostly are following. Are they're following. Now, there are some women who just follow them just for to laugh at them. Yeah. But there are millions of Mormons who need something catered to them. And they have been told for so long that Gentile, that's what they refer to people who aren't Mormons, Gentile entertainment doesn't work for them. It doesn't get them. Mm. And so that's why these women are successful. Because they've found a way to market their brand of perfection to people who are still just more provincial than they are.
Wow.
It's a genius strategy. And they're all rolling in it.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things about being out here. And I grew up in, Berkeley, and just our worldview is we're in a bubble and
liberal.
Yes, we are. But we're in a bubble and a bubble and a bubble and a bubble and a bubble. So we did not grow up with any religion at all, not much, none of this. So all of this seems so foreign and so, but there's a big world, there's a whole country out here that you forget, like, oh, okay.
I totally get it because I wasn't raised super evangelical, but I grew up in it. I grew up in the air and the atmosphere of it. Mm-hmm. And this is how religion controls people, especially controls women. Because it makes things okay for women, for men, and you can't do that if you're a woman.
Yeah.
You can, the rules are very specific for what you can do as a woman, and they all defer to what the man says. Mormonism takes that and puts it on steroids. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the gender equality is even more than the Southern Baptist Church. Wow. It is. It's especially because the men are the only ones to receive the priesthood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so when men are a certain level of have God in them, and women do not have that part. So it goes all the way back to the foundations of Joseph Smith wanting to have that idea that women could never usurp the men. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I I feel like we should let them go. I could keep talking, but I'm looking at the time and I feel bad.
I was just going to say, you guys have been very, very generous with your time, and we want to let you go. But before we wrap up with just a quick, Peggy, who is our social media manager, you know Peggy, and she's the one who helped connect us. And so she had a couple of suggestions, if you're up for it, to do a fuck, marry, kill.
Let's do it.
Sure.
Okay. So now you guys watched.
Just Poodle fucks them all.
I'm probably going to break the rules.
If you can, your own version of it, whatever works for you. But so you guys watched, I think for the Bi Curious episode, Polyfamily, the first.
We did.
Okay.
Oh God!
I hated that show.
We covered this show, and I've been following them on TikTok. Oh my God. I mean,
it's a horror show.
Okay,
I'm glad we only had to do one. Hated it.
Talk about involving
It's about to get worse. Because
there's more.
Okay, here is our first fuck, marry, kill. Cody Brown, Sean from Polyfamily, and Taylor from Polyfamily.
Okay, I'm going to fuck Taylor. That's an easy choice. Yeah. No, wait, I can't.
No, think about it. You got to think that through.
Okay.
Think hard.
I see. That's me. I always go for who I'm going to fuck first. I never go with who I'm going to marry.
Yeah.
That's my problem. Okay. I'm going to marry Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Even that lazy eye would become attracted to me after a while. Just watches shit. Just fixates. I'm going to kill. Okay, this is too difficult. I think just because I would just love to just destroy him consistently. I think I would fuck Sean because I think the dick game is kind of decent.
Really?
And you have to kill Cody Brown. I mean, because having sex with Cody Brown. I'd just never be I'd never be.
You'd never do it again, probably. That would be it.
No, I'd be marked for life.
Okay, Matt.
Interesting.
What are your thoughts on this?
I would kill Sean because I can't.
I'd rather do that.
I can't do that. And then I'm going to marry Cody Brown and I'm going to fuck Taylor.
Wow.
That would be mine.
Why marry?
Why? You would just spend the rest of your life with Cody?
I know.
No, you marry him, but then you will promptly get divorced 10 years later after you've built a little bit of money and take him down, like what they're doing on the show.
Could you deafen yourself? Like puncture your ears with an ice pick?
Because I'd marry him, but then eventually, like, he would get someone else and I'd get another house. So I wouldn't really live with him
I just can't play that long of a game.
Yeah, I don't think I could make it through the weekend with Cody.
No. I would drown him in the bathtub.
Yeah.
But he's easy. Cody is easy. We've seen Robin, who I don't think is the brightest person, has figured him out. He is not. All you have to do is stroke his ego.
Sean is an evil mastermind.
He is.
Taylor is cute and dumb.
Mm-hmm.
But financially, Cody's going to set me up the best.
Mm-hmm.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. No, those are your two.
No,
you make
I'm thinking
argument.
the way I should be thinking, not the way Poodle has thought, which is the reason.
Did you hear
he's on
me
his
to say,
sixth
I
marriage?
fucked Taylor?
Yeah, and
That's
we're doing
the first thing I thought.
And basically, we're doing our podcast in our fucking bathrooms, practically. We could be on a yacht somewhere.
I'm terrible at fuck, Barry.
Okay, well,
I always think,
All right, we have one more.
We have one more for you. Okay. So apropos of this show, we have from the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, Zach, Dakota, and Chase.
Oh.
You go first this time.
Yeah, I'm going to fuck Chase because he's hot. He's real hot. He's really, really hot. And I'm going to kill Zach and I'm going to marry Dakota.
Oh. You know, I kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
And doesn't Chase have a backwards hat?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I'm going to this is going to be controversial. I'm going to marry Zach. Now follow me here.
Okay.
only because I would spend the rest of my life gaslighting him in the same way.
Okay, I support this.
Me.
I like this plan.
Okay.
And if anyone
Because
could do
a
it,
man
you were,
like- because
you
a
were
man- I
raised
was
by your
raised by
mother.
my
You
mother.
could do this.
I would find it my mission to completely destroy this man's confidence, to make him just this pile of whimpering rubble. And
Love.
Exactly. you got to devote yourself to something.
Yeah.
So I think I then would. I think I'd have to fuck Chase just because I'd want to see what it's like. And then I don't know. I don't relish the idea of killing Dakota, but at the same time, he has such a punchable face when he stares at her with those big eyes that just pops into there. And I think I'd be doing a favor to every woman in Provo.
You'd be doing a favor for Taylor Frankie Paul.
I would be doing a favor because she doesn't need this man in her life. And also,
I can't figure Dakota out. I don't understand. I mean, is he a little narcissistic? Is he just kind of stupid? Does he know what he's doing?
He's an addict.
He's an addict.
Because I know he's got an addiction. And so there's a little bit like, which is very common where when people get sober, they then transfer it to something else. I'm like, are you addicted to sex or women? Is this what's happening? But I don't know. I think that Dakota just kind of goes where the wind goes half the time. And it's like, this woman wants to fool around with me. Okay. And then, I don't want to tell, I'm not going to tell Taylor the truth.
Good looking cis white guy in this culture. And so they give him everything.
Yeah.
The women fall down in front of him.
Person.
Yes.
Yeah, that I think
he's the Chris Hemsworth of Mormons.
He was Mama's special boy. Like a lot of these boys are. And this guy especially, I have a feeling he was probably good at football and things like that. And he looks like he does. And he never really had to think hard.
Yeah.
And addiction happened. And I think now he's always got an exit strategy. And he's always trying to think about a way to not use. So I think that makes him interesting. Because more than all the others, because he's definitely got a lot more stakes. Anyway.
Yeah.
That was hard.
It was hard.
It was very challenging.
Very challenging. Thank you.
I appreciate all the thought that was put into it. It was like really like SATs here, SAT level. I got to get this right. But thank you so much. Like we said, this is such an honor. Such an honor. I mean, you can plug the podcast, Reality Gaze, but I don't think we really need to.
Yeah. Everyone knows.
Find us wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yes.
We are there.
90 Day Fiancé and all of its spinoffs, where we do a show on Fridays called The Gaily Dose. That's just us being ridiculous and talking about gay things and pop culture and new things that we like, things that we want to complain about a little bit. Just us. And you can find us. We recap Love After Lockup on our Patreon, as well as classic episodes of, I guess, we're going to get into other reality shows later on. And you can find us everywhere at Reality Gaze, Reality Gaze Podcast, one of those social media places.
Wonderful.
And check out their Patreon. Brooke and I are both members, and it's awesome. So much great stuff on there.
Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of content.
So much content. I mean,
It's too much.
I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I'm like, I don't think I can get through all this.
I know. It needs to do a clean because not everybody can listen. So it's too much, but it's...
Well, because we do Love is Blind as well, but you guys do every single episode, and we do them in the batches because... and
we talk too long. That's the problem.
5-hour episode.
Well, we think you're great. We've been
Thank you so
fans
much.
of yours for a long
Thank
time.
you guys are great. This was a great conversation.
Thank you.
I loved it. Kind of hitting on different things to talk about.
Yeah,
we'll definitely have to have you on when we do season 2 of Mormon Wives.
For sure.
Yes.
Come and join us.
Second half.
The second half.
Oh, the second half. Yeah, I was like, it just happened, but okay.
In the fall, for sure.
In the fall.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Sounds great.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. If you haven't already heard, but we're on YouTube. Woo! Woo! Yes, we're on YouTube now, and we're on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and Blue Sky. So check us out there as well. If you like the show, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. We really do appreciate those. Please tell a friend about it, subscribe so that you get all the downloads every week. And if you want even more of us, you can check out our Patreon. You get all these shows ad-free, plus you get a weekly bonus, plus there are some extra things for our higher tier, the $8 tier. Plus, if you're not a Patreon person, I actually just, there's different ways to support us. You can buy a collection or a bundle. We do these exclusive true crime episodes for our Patreon people, and you can, purchase like 7 of them for $5 if you want to listen to all of those. We divided up I did this recently, like the Love is Blind and those seasons, so you could get those ad free, all that stuff. So there's different ways of doing it, but go check us out on Patreon. And I think that's it.
Okay.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much, everyone.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellows wherever you get your podcasts.
That new thing? Yeah, we've got it. The Drop by GNC, bringing you all the newness that matters, handpicked by the pros who actually know what's up and what's proven to work. We keep you on top of the trends and dialed into what's next. Whether you're crushing it at the gym, leveling up your game, or thriving every day, The Drop by GNC is where the latest solutions in health and wellness land first. Non-stop innovation and fresh finds daily. Explore what's new and what's next on The Drop by GNC.
From taco night in Tulum to sushi in Tokyo, make every bite rewarding with Gold from Amex. Wherever you dine, 4 times membership rewards points at restaurants worldwide are piling up. Learn more at americanexpress.com/explore-gold. Terms and points cap apply.